Yo, what's good? It's your boy Dot from Dot Me Now Coaching and Entertainment for coaching my links are down below. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the concept of Earth being a prison. Is that actually true? Why do so many people have out of body experiences where they perceive Earth as a prison beyond the shadow of a doubt? Meanwhile, other people have out of body experiences that show them the complete opposite. We're going to talk about all of these things from various different angles. So if that sounds good to you, I would like to ask that you like this video, subscribe if you're new, and if you see the option, I would like to also ask that you hype up this video. Without further ado, let's get into today's video. Alright, so the Earth prison theory basically states in simple terms that Earth is a prison for souls. Souls get trapped on Earth against their will and they're forced to reincarnate over and over again by certain beings that want to essentially harvest their energy and feed off them for various different reasons. Now, inside of a lot of Earth prison theories, they do talk about how to escape the prison, right? I'm not sure if there's theories where they say that you can't escape. I'm not really sure about that, but from what I've heard, they usually provide some plan for escape. Now, with that being said, is Earth really your prison? Well, according to the ideology of the Earth prison, technically it wouldn't be a prison. The word soul trap would be a more accurate term for that theory, since a prison is somewhere that you go because you did something wrong, right? But the theory states that souls are trapped here against their will, not because they did something bad. It's just because higher beings want to trap them and feed off them and stuff like that. It's not because a soul. It's not because a soul necessarily did something bad. Now I'm saying this because there actually are certain prison planets in like in the cosmos, right? Like there are certain places like when it comes to like the galactic experiences, there actually are certain places within inside of what they call the galactic realm where certain people do go to jails, like alien jails, right? They really do have those. Earth is not one of those, right? But there is a reason why people start to see Earth as a trap. And we're going to talk about that. Now, I do want to say that the highest truth about Earth is that it's not a soul trap, but it can be used that way. For example, I am currently in my office. If I was a super duper crazy person, I could trap people inside this office and hold them here against their will. I would never do that, but I could do that. I'm saying that because this office is not meant to be a trap for certain people. However, I can use it that way. Same with Earth. Earth is not meant to be a trap for souls, but it can be used that way, right? I can't deny that. And we're going to talk about how this really works. So understand that the highest truth about your soul is that nobody can trap you unless you believe it to be so. Nobody can force you to incarnate unless you believe it to be so. Some people might have heard stories about people who get forced to reincarnate. That only happens because they believed that they were forced to reincarnate. You see, if you really pass away with so much fear and you believe that you've been trapped here and that you can't escape and that you're going to be forced to reincarnate, you will manifest that for yourself because you have free will and you are your ultimate authority. So if you believe that you got to come back, you're going to come back. Now, the thing is, if you live like a regular life, where you don't really have that much fear and you don't think you're forced to reincarnate, you will meet with certain beings that pretty much explain, like, you could call them spirit guides, right? They'll guide you in the afterlife and pretty much explain, like, yeah, you passed away, you're going to have a life review, all these other things, and you don't have to come back, but you can if you want to. They'll explain that to you, right? But the thing is, there's certain ways that when it comes to the whole entire soul trap stuff, that they even finesse you at that point. See, the first finesse is putting you in fear and taking your power away. And they take your power away by making you give it up. That's the first level of it. They use fear to control you. right? They make you believe that you have no control and that other forces have control over you, and they make you believe that you cannot escape and that you're going to be forced to reincarnate over and over again, right? That's the first trap, right? That's the one that they really banking on. They banking on that one. You feel me? But then there's a second one, which starts to involve the whole entire Saturn Moon Matrix stuff. By the way, I do have a video with inside of my astral projection playlist where I talk about the Saturn Moon Matrix. So I'm not gonna go fully in depth on that, but just understand that the second way to trap you is by pretty much binding you to Earth through your desires to the point where you choose to come back because you desire certain experiences that you can only have on Earth. To keep it simple, with the Saturn Moon Matrix, Saturn is a planet that could deal with restriction and binding people. Now, Saturn's not an evil planet. Sometimes you need discipline. Saturn helps you to build discipline, right? But it can help you to build more control inside your life. But the more extreme aspects start to bind you to certain things. They begin to restrict you, right? And then the moon deals with your inner world and your emotions. So they pretty much bind your emotions to the physical reality of existence, so that way when you pass away, even if you understand that you have a choice, it's kind of like you're going to always choose to come back because you desire certain things on Earth, and it's like you feel like you just have to come back over and over and over and over again, right? So those are the main two ways you get trapped: through your fear and through your desires, right? When you when you fully access your soul and you access your spirit and you tap into the fullness of your divinity, you have more chance to make a conscious choice. You see, when it comes to like Hindu teachings, right? When they talk about reincarnation, they always mention it as a choice, but there are certain choices that get made impulsively. For example, let's say you reincarnate as a dog, right? They would say that that happens because you acted like an animal. If you acted like a dog inside this life, then your karma is going to propel you there, right? Karma just see your karmas, right? More specifically, it's your samskaras. So karma means action. When you do certain actions, it builds certain karmic tendencies, aka samskaras, right? These karmic tendencies are pretty much the fact that because you did something, you are more likely to do it again. It's pretty much habits, right? It's a habitual way of living, right? If you think a certain thought, that thought gets stored inside your unconscious mind, and now it's like a seed has been planted, which can grow and begin to manifest as more of those thoughts. And the more you feed those thoughts with energy, the more that you water that plant, the more and more it grows inside your mind. You see, same with certain like physical actions. When you start to do certain things, you are more likely to do it. You plant a seed inside your unconscious mind and you water it by constantly feeding it energy and attention. You see? So you act off that action more and more and more and more the more you feed into that tendency within inside of your mind, right? So if you become a very impulsive person on earth that has animalistic desires, then when you pass away, you might even still go through the whole entire life review, all that, right? But it's like you're not really that aware while you're doing it, and pretty much you kind of impulsively choose to come back, right? It was still your choice, but you kind of made it off of impulse. You know how like inside your life right now, you can do something off of impulse, and it's like you still chose to do it, but it wasn't like a fully conscious choice. So they do that to you. They can make you a very impulsive person. Sometimes it's not even, and when I say they, right, I mean the quote unquote evil rulers of the world. I made a video about who they are. You know what I'm saying? Who they are, what they are. It's just pretty much different human people, different ETs, different non-corporeal beings, like entities and stuff like that. It's a whole group of motherfuckers that just seek to control you for various different reasons. Some people just want you to keep up the illusion of creation. Other ones seek to feed off you, especially like when a certain being disconnects from source and stuff like that. They don't always have access to higher forms of life force energy, so they get that from you. They feed off you. Now, this video is not meant to promote fear because fear is how they trap you. You don't got to be scared of nothing. You can easily transcend this stuff. There's a period of my life where I was very heavy into the prison, into this earth prison theory and stuff like that, right? I don't want to say it's a theory because, like, technically, like I said, it can be used to trap souls, but that's not what it's meant to be, right? Earth Earth is meant to be a place that you come to where you pretty much learn to break free from limitation. You come here to forget your divine. Well, there's many different reasons why somebody would come here. There's all different kinds of reasons. And that goes into why some people have out of body experiences where they only see Earth as a prison. Meanwhile, other people have out of body experiences where they see Earth way beyond that. I'm gonna get to that in a little bit, but just understand that souls can come here for so many different reasons. But the main purpose of creating this physical plane of existence is one because see various different constructs tie into this physical plane. Like, how can I put this? If you watch my video on Patreon about the creation of the physical construct, you're going to get what I mean more. Because this really is a very unique experience, right? Pretty much everything, right? Various different forms of creation tie into this Earth experience. It's like everything is here. Like everything outside of here is also kind of inside of here. Even with the fact that people talk about the 12 realms of the physical plane, or the 12 subplanes, right? Or the 12 demiplanes, right? People mainly just say realms though, right? That's modeled after the whole entire omniverse. There are 12 planes of existence. This physical plane is only one level of it, and this physical plane has different layers, what people call the 12 realms, right? Now, with that being said, I'm saying this because this construct literally models the whole entire omniverse, and it ties in so many principles from outside of here and wraps it inside of here, right? And since we're at the lowest level of the physical plane, things are very dense and there's so much limitation. And part of that is to learn how to break free from limitation, right? Before you come here, you're already a divine being, right? But when you come here, you kind of forget your divinity and you must learn how to reclaim it. And then once you reclaim it, you transcend all the bullshit. Now, bullshit could be happening all around you and it doesn't affect you whatsoever. That's kind of like what the Buddhists call enlightenment. That's a real thing. You could really hit that point. You know what I'm saying? I'll make a separate video about anger and awakening, though, because I do want to talk about how when you begin to awaken, bro, it could come with a lot of anger, a lot of misery. I'm going to talk about that. You feel me? Best believe. But back to focus on this video, right? Souls come here for all different kinds of reasons. And due to the fact that Earth has been used to trap souls, there are certain souls that come into this physical creation in order to free those souls. And those souls might have a tendency to perceive Earth as a trap because their whole entire reason for coming here is to free people from that trap. That's why you have certain out-of-body travelers who have been shown this Earth as being a huge prison. You see, I'm not here to invalidate anybody's experience. That's not the type of nigga I am. You know what I'm saying? Just because experiences might be different does not mean that different experiences are not valid for that person, right? People who see Earth as a prison, they're kind of meant to see it like that because these are the same souls that help to free people from that prison. Now, sometimes people do lose the plot and they talk about the prison so much that they forget to talk about how to actually escape it. Most of the time there is an escape plan that people will mention, but oftentimes people will focus so heavy on the control structures and forget to mention that you don't have to be bound to these control structures. You know what I'm saying? Because you really don't have to. Then you have other souls that will come here they'll understand the whole entire trap, but they also come here to wake people up to the higher purpose of this physical creation. That's why you have other out-of-body travelers who might even see Earth as a prison, but they also have other experiences where they get shown the true divine purpose of Earth, the true nature of reality, and they share that with other people. And then people start to think like, wait a minute. One person says it's all about experience. The other one says that it's a freaking prison. Which one is true? Well, it's actually both. And sometimes, even with the prison stuff, sometimes certain souls incarnate here to experience being different. Sometimes people incarnate to literally become the prisoner and to be the person that frees the prisoner. Like some people willingly incarnate to get trapped. Just so they learn how to break free from the trap. That may sound crazy, but it only sounds crazy because you're living on Earth as a human and all you know is limitation. Imagine if all you knew was Imagine if all you knew was being unlimited. If all you knew was being a God that could do anything. Sometimes you're like, you know what? I want to see if I could really, accomplish this challenge of breaking free. Because it's like, yeah, you think that you're divine and that you're a God, but how much of a God are you when you're forced to not be a God? Yeah, real talk, bro. Like this is why they say this could be a test. Also, for some people, it is a test. It's a test to see if you could reclaim your divinity. right? You were so powerful before you came here. You were so enlightened. You were so divine. But what happens to you when that gets stripped away from you? Can you reclaim it? That's something that you try to find out. Also, it could also be a school of sorts, right? And when I say a school, I mean like you also see sometimes it's more of a test, sometimes it's more of a school. But then again, in school you have different tests, right? Here's what I mean. Sometimes you're testing yourself. Other times it's more about you're trying to just simply learn how to break free. And sometimes you're trying to learn how to break free so you can help other people break free, right? So it's kind of the same thing a bit with the test and the whole entire school thing. It's just that it's just a different attitude. One of them is like, you know what? I'm going to test myself. The other one is like, you know what? I want to learn how to break free from limitation when that's actually placed upon me. Same thing, different attitude, right? Now, I do want to say that there was a period of my life where I was heavy into understanding the whole entire Earth being a soul trap, right? I was into that heavy before, and I actually had experiences where I actually saw Earth in that way. One experience which I will never forget is when one night I was just sleeping, and then I woke up, right, and I was in the astral plane. Now I didn't know this. I thought I was in real life, but I did feel crazy as heck. I'm like, yo, I feel amazing right now. And I looked out my window and I seen a giant UFO that was pretty much casting these beams on every single house. And when I saw the beams, I remember the exact term. I called it an amnesia ray. It was a certain beam that kept people asleep and also made people forget what they experienced, right? Now, as I was looking at this shit, I had a couple of different thoughts. I'm like, maybe I should fly to this shit. I don't know. But at some point, the UFO noticed me, and then it came right over my house, and then it beamed me, hit me with the beam. It was like a violet beam, you know what I'm saying? And then I got knocked out, and I woke up, and I actually almost forgot the experience. I actually almost forgot that shit. I forgot what reminded me, but best believe when I woke up, I really did kind of forgot I really did forget what happened. But then I remembered. I was like, "Holy fuck, that shit really happened." I'm like, "Yeah, this shit is a prison, bro. There's certain beings keeping us asleep inside the astral plane." That's what I thought, right? Over time, though, I started leaving my body more than that never happened to me again, to be honest. But I'm saying that because due to the fact that I was already kind of tapping into that soul trap energy, I was seeing a dimensional space where that is happening at. Because there definitely are certain dimensional spaces within inside of this physical plane where certain souls are kept asleep. When I saw that shit, I'm like, yo, this shit really like. I'm like, yo, this shit is really like the Matrix, where they keep you asleep inside the joint. You gotta unplug. You know what I'm saying? I'm really like, yo, this shit like the Matrix, but it's only like that for certain areas of the physical plane, which you start to access those areas. Different things can make you access that. Sometimes, most of the time, it's because you're already kind of aligned with that ideology, whether you have been studying it in this life right now, or it's inside of your mind on an unconscious level because your mission when coming here was to free people from the different traps that have been placed within inside the physical plane, right? So whether you have consciously studied it or it's just planted inside your unconscious mind that this shit's a prison, those things will make you access those kind of dimensional spaces. But there are certain other things too, right? Like I'm sure that how can I put this? There's a certain way I'm trying to put it that makes it make sense. It's like the same way that I woke up inside the dimension, the same way that I woke up inside of that dimensional space, although I was already tapping into that kind of ideology, I'm sure that there could be other people who wake up inside of those just because it's so close to their current reality right now, right? Because when you leave your body, you may notice that you oftentimes will access parallel dimensional spaces. Like for example, there's been times where I left my body, right, and my room looks almost the exact same, but certain objects are not in the right place. Like let's say I had my rings on this shelf. When I leave my body, though, it's on that shelf. Like sometimes there's certain small changes. Sometimes they're a bit more dramatic. Like there's been times where I left my body and then my room looks like how it looked in the past. You see? It's like my room from a couple months to a year ago, right? That's happened. There was a yeah, when I first was getting out of body. See, right now I currently sleep in a new room from my childhood, right? But when I leave my body, sometimes if I go inside my childhood room, it has the same decorations from when I was in elementary school. I like all the different SpongeBob bubbles and stuff like that. Like I had SpongeBob on my wall. That's not there no more. It hasn't been there for years. But when I was first getting out of body, I would go inside that place and I would literally see the SpongeBob stuff. I'll share one more thing about parallel dimensional spaces, right? uh there was one time where I left my body, right? And when I left my body, I had a certain outfit on. Now the outfit that I had on was my pajamas from when I was a little kid. It was these pajamas that I would always wear. I used to love these pajamas and I would always wear them. So when I left my body, I kind of just had them Jones on, and I felt like I was a kid. It was actually that experience was so amazing because I felt like a child. I felt so free. It was pretty lit. My point is though, there are dimensional spaces which are closer to this reality than other dimensional spaces. I'm saying that because with these parallel dimensional spaces, it is true that various different beings can enter into these and try to control them, and because of that, people stay asleep inside of those dimensional spaces. That's the thing also. So that's another thing that might make you enter into that dimensional space if that dimensional space is currently close to your, if that dimensional space is close to your current reality right now. And one thing that makes dimensional spaces get closer is your ideology. Like I said, if you believe that this shit's a prison, you are more likely to attract those kind of spaces where you see that it's a prison, right? If you see things being free like Candyland, you might leave and start seeing Candyland. Who knows, right? So with that being said, I'm mentioning this because, like I said, there was a period of time where I was very heavy into this shit. But over time, I realized that that was not the highest truth of this creation. Over time, I left my body more and more, and I saw that, like I've had encounters with malevolent beings, but out of all of my experiences, that is such a small portion. Like, I have an interview right now with the Paradigm Experience, right? Inside that video, I did mention I don't even think it was that many, but I did mention experiences, and I think that most of them, if not all of them, I was talking about different malevolent beings, right? Not all of them. One of them I did mention where I met God, where like I unified with God, I unified with Source. I have a video on this YouTube literally called "I Just Met God." I was like so young back then. I was on my phone inside the bed recording this before I had the my setup that I have right now. I was so young back then, bro. Super innocent, man. Now let me stop though. My whole entire point is just the fact that when it comes to malevolent encounters, that's such a small fraction of my experiences, bro. I've experienced so many amazing things, bro. And others, by the way, I've also fought malevolent beings. Like, I've fought demons and shit like that. Like, I've done things like that, on purpose, Like, I've set the intent to go out and find a demon to fight. I've done that stuff, you know what I'm saying? But even then, such a small fraction. This can be a beautiful experience once you access your divinity. And I'll make more videos about that. I love you. I'm going to catch you. Peace.